Hi there, Lara here. I've got a sequence for you all about bone density, primarily for the wrists, elbows, knees, a little bit for the feet. All right, so coming forward onto the hands and knees, have your knees and ankles a hips distance apart, your hands as wide as your shoulders or maybe a little wider. Index fingers pointing forward or to the corners of the mat for less pressure in the wrist and shoulder perhaps. You can even have your hands up on blocks. Tuck the toes under well, get a good grip. Think about squeezing the heels together. Inner upper arm rolls forward, outer upper arm rolls back. There's a slight pulling apart of the elbows. We start to round the back and tuck the chin, pressing the floor away. Gaze lifts, sit bones lift. We look up. Spine rounding, chin tucking, pressing the floor away. Gaze lifting, sit bones lifting, looking up. And then I'll show you what that looks like from the side, just continuing at your own pace. And thinking about the heels not coming apart, but squeezing them towards one another. Spine rounding, chin tucking, pressing floor away. Gaze lifting, sit bones lifting, looking up, thinking collarbones broadening, upper arm bones coming into the sockets. We want to try to avoid this. Find space where available. Spine rounding, chin tucking, pressing floor away. Gaze lifting, sit bones lifting, looking up, thinking space in those shoulders. Spine rounding, chin tucking, press floor away. Gaze lifts, sit bones lift, shoulder heads go back. We try to squeeze those heels as we push into the big toes. 2 more. Only creating as much movement as feels good in your spine. Good. And then coming back to neutral. Now I'm just going to talk about what neutral is for a moment. So often there can be rounding in the upper back, and this is something that we want to avoid. And this happens in some bodies, not all bodies. In order to correct it, we think about taking the mid-back, the brow line toward the sternum, towards the chest, trying to create a little bit more length in the thoracic spine. And it depends on the person and the skeleton and so much how much movement you'll create on that particular day. It takes time to create more movement. Now, the other thing that we need to worry about is creating too much of a curve in the lumbar spine or lordosis, right? So in order to correct this or to reduce this, because this can cause us pain if we create too much mobility in the lower back or the lumbar spine, so we think of drawing the lowest part of the abdomen toward the lowest part of the back, slightly. And we don't want to exaggerate this and completely get rid of the lumbar curve when we're creating a neutral spine. We want a bit of a curve, a natural curve, not a huge amount, not erasing the curve, but right in the middle. An engagement of the abdomen without force or strain. All right, now we'll point the feet, we'll push into the top of the feet, try to drag the heels away from us, get rid of the wrinkles in the heels, even pressure to big toe and baby toe as we make some circles. And you can carry those neutral alignments for the spine into any position where you're bearing weight on your hands in this sort of way. So in a plank or a push-up, those sorts of positions are great opportunities to find neutral alignment in the spine as well. And you'll get a lot more benefit in the shoulders, the neck, as well as the core and arm strength that would usually come from a plank or something like a push-up. Also, when you find neutral alignment in the skeleton in those sorts of positions, tabletop or otherwise, it causes other areas of the body, such as the glutes and so on, to contract and engage more evenly. Let's change direction. And really in asana or physical posture practice, we're eventually looking to create equal effort, equal contribution of effort from every cell in the body. Not having one cell or one muscle group work harder than any other. Ideally, they are all doing their part. Try not to allow your feet to move from side to side. Try not to allow your knees to wander apart. Imagine you've got a block between your thighs that you're squeezing. One more circle. And stopping with the circles, tucking the toes under again, getting a good grip on the toes, and then lowering to the elbow. And we're looking to have the elbows right underneath the shoulder, so there'll be a bit more of a slope to the back here. Fingertips wrap around the elbows, and then we release our forearms to the ground so that the forearms are directly at a right angle to the shoulder. So you got a 90-degree elbow here. You're spreading your fingers wide. And if this is tricky, you could always have a block between your palms if it's hard to keep your hands apart, and if your hands want to slide together and your elbows want to slide apart. I'll come face forward so you can see that a little bit better. So in this case, often, if the shoulders are quite strong, there's not as much mobility, this type of action will happen. Your hands will want to come together, your elbows will go apart. So if you can keep your elbows where they are, fine, go for it. But if it's tricky, try having two blocks or a big block between your hands that you can squeeze. Makes a huge difference. Or hold on to a broom handle, also a great option. Or any kind of, dowel stick you might have hanging around. Now from here, we're gonna do the same two actions. We're gonna round our back and tuck the chin, pressing the floor away, using the toes, the fingers. And then chest lifting, belly lifting, looking up. Spine rounding, chin tucking, pressing floor away. Gaze lifting, sit bones lifting, looking up. Spine rounding, chin tucking, pressing floor away. Gaze lifting, sit bones lifting, looking up. The shoulders go back. We'll do one more. Good. And then a neutral spine. Point the feet, find that lift in the ankle, and think circles with the hips. And you can look just beyond your hands here or directly at the ground, depending on what feels good for your neck. Trying to press into the whole circumference of the palms here. Equal pressure in each palm, each elbow. And going the other direction. And then coming back to center. Tucking the toes under, getting a good grip, sliding a bit forward with the shoulders, sliding a bit back with the shoulders. Trying not to allow your palms or elbows to move. Think about pushing into the toes, and imagine you could lift the knees away from the floor without physically lifting them. Imagine they could lift just, a hair's distance away from the ground. And just thinking about lifting them, just trying to lift them without actually lifting them, can provide a lot of extra benefit in the core. Let's do one more. Good, and then stacking shoulders over elbows, slowly coming onto those palms once again. And then we're gonna do the same action. So tuck toes, bring your hips towards your heels, and bring your shoulders forward. Bring your hips towards your heels, bring your shoulders forward. And if you're feeling too much stretch in the wrists, you wanna make it a little bit harder in the core, a little easier on the wrist, go a little farther forward. Just like so. So you're sliding into sort of a modified plank and then sliding out. And I'll give you a visual from the side next here as we do, let's say, about 5 more. Toes are tucked, hands are farther forward than the shoulders, hips are coming as close to heels as feels good, and then shoulders come pretty close to wrists, a little bit behind. Unless you're quite used to stretching the wrist and if you want more. If you're wanting more still, the hands can slide maybe a little bit further forward, maybe an inch or so. And as you come forward, you're thinking about drawing the abdomen in and lengthening the mid-back a little bit. Good. And then from here, we'll take a child's pose for rest. So the knees can be together or apart, the feet are pointed. Knees can be a little wide if you like. Sliding forward with the hands, you can either stack the fists or palms underneath the forehead, or for more shoulder stretch, you can extend your arms and rest the forehead on the ground, as long as your forehead is resting on something. A block or a book would be quite nice under the head too. We're thinking inner upper arm to the ceiling, outer upper arm to the floor, pressing into the palms as we try to lift the forearm. We're thinking space in the upper back, as though the shoulder blades could broaden a little, as though the collarbones could broaden a little. If that doesn't make sense, don't worry about it. Good, and then coming back forward. All right, so now I'll give you two perspectives on one more weight-bearing movement for the spine. Also fantastic for the wrists and the knees. So we'll go slowly. So we start in the position we were just in, the toes, but with the toes tucked. So knees and ankles are hips distance apart. Hips are nice and close to the heels. We've got an external rotation of the upper arm and internal rotation of the lower arm. We're using our fingers. And then we slide forward with the shoulders. We slowly bend our elbows, lowering onto the abdomen. The knees can slide back a little if you'd like. Feet point. Push into the palms, and then a little mini cobra. Elbows squeeze towards you, shoulder heads lifting. Use your palms firmly. And then lowering. Toes tucking, stay on the knees, lift the abdomen, elbows squeeze towards you, and then hips come towards your heels. Fingers might slide back a little, forehead resting if comfortable. Forehead can also lift. Coming forward, elbows squeeze as you hug those elbows and lower down to the mat. Point the feet, push into the palms, take the chest up a little, hug the elbows, look at the floor. Slowly lower, tuck the toes, lift the abdomen, and take the hips towards the heels. Sliding forward, slowly lowering, pointing feet, lifting the chest, pushing into the palms. Perhaps your cobra rises a little more, elbows squeezing, and then lowering slowly, toes tuck under, abdomen lifting, hips going back towards the heels. Now I'll give you a side perspective on the same thing. Toes are tucked, feet and knees at hips distance, engaging elbows, hips are coming towards heels. And we slide forward, slowly lower, pointing feet, pushing into palms to lift chest a little or a lot, depending on your body. Elbows a little bent, pushing into feet, and then slowly lowering, toes tucking under, pushing up, lifting abdomen, hips coming towards heels. And then sliding forward, elbows bending as you hug them toward you. Once you've lowered, feet pointing. Think about lifting the abdomen, pushing into the palms, lifting the chest slightly, a little more, depending on your body. And remember, we've all been born with totally different spines. One type of mobility or lack thereof, or more amount of strength or lack thereof, certainly does not dictate whether you are good or bad at yoga. It just looks different. Slowly lower. Toes are tucked under. You're gonna lift your abdomen, push into the palms to come up. Bring your hips towards your heels, find your toes. If taking a little dog sounds nice, go for it. If it feels nice to stay with the knees down, stay with the knees down. Good, and then maybe you float a little forward. Lower your knees very gently. Slowly lower the chest. Knees can slide back. Pointed feet. Push into the palms, lift the chest slightly, maybe a little more. Elbows hug, chest lifting. Push into the tops of the feet. Slowly lowering. Tucking toes under. Abdomen, chest lifting. And hips coming towards heels. Perhaps a dog, perhaps the knees stay down. A little bit of a bend in the knee and lengthen the spine is ideal. If that's really nice, feeling really nice rather, then you can extend if you really want. Depends on what you're looking for. Sliding forward, knees drop down, lowering chest, knees slide back a little, feet pointed, push into tops of feet. Lift abdomen, lift chest. Maybe a little bit more. Elbows are slightly bent. We're using our palms firmly. If there's tension in the lower back, you're going too far too quick. Lower down slowly from whatever version you come into, toes tucking under, lifting chest and abdomen to come back into your puppy pose or a dog pose. Let's do 2 more, sliding forward, knees coming down, chest lowering, feet pointed, coming into your little cobra. Lowering down, tucking toes, lifting up, hips coming towards your heels. Maybe you take a little dog. And then let's see how it looks. Knees lowering, sliding forward, lowering down, feet pointing, coming into a little mini cobra, maybe a big cobra, lowering down, tucking toes, coming up, hips to heels, and we'll finish off in a nice child's pose. Feet pointed, forehead resting either on the ground or on stacked fists or stacked palms. Concentrating on the back of your body, expanding, contracting. And taking your time to come forward, stretching out the right toes, and then the heel. Stretching out the left toes, and then the heel. And you can certainly do that a few times. Wonderful. And being sure to finish your practice with a Shavasana. At least 5 minutes, but really 7 to 10 minutes is ideal. And I highly recommend a bit of oming afterwards too. Namaste.